Hello, welcome. Today we're going to be going over support company reliability and reliability in general and how it works. It's something that may be important if you're designing a tank for armored recon or light flame tanks, because that's something you directly have control over, and we'll also see how much impact it has on tanks in an actual tank division later on. So I've got two tests that we're going to do. Now I've already actually done this one and recorded the results, but this is future me. See, since this morning happened, things have changed. So we got the tank test and we'll go over that with the new information since I recorded the infantry test, which just had armored recon company in it. The old math suggests that you need 58.33% reliability to minimize attrition losses for light tanks. We are going to see that as wrong. You are going to be along for the ride in my confusion. So we'll go on to the infantry test. I've created a whole bunch of different light tanks, and all they are is getting a reliability value. So we have from 0 to 100%, and we're going to see if this reliability matters. So I've got 8 different infantry divisions, and all they are is the different reliability tanks. And what I've been doing is taking them and walking them through the mountains of France, the French Alps, and then walking them back down, and they are going to take a constant 30% attrition tick. Now, currently there is a belief, and it is based on what the wiki says, that you only need a reliability over a certain amount to prevent attrition ticks. So for a light armored recon, it is 58% for 24 pieces, and you can easily double check this math. And then for flame tanks, it's 33.3%. What we're going to see is if that's actually true, because the game director says that they fixed that, or something. They fixed something related to a summed error for combat losses. Now, he also does say his memory is a little hazy here, so he doesn't actually know if it actually was applied to attrition or just combat losses. But we'll see. And that might be why the combat log is a little messy now and a little buggy. We're going to just let these guys walk through the French Alps up and down, and they're going to take a constant tick of attrition at 30%. And different tanks are supposed to take different amounts. So the 75% reliability ones are supposed to take 1.6. And then we also have the 0% reliability ones that are supposed to take 6. And then can we find the 50%? Yes, the 50% are supposed to take 3.4%. So we're supposed to have a range of approximately 0 at the 100% to 6% at the 0%. So we'll see if that's even close to true. I've done this multiple times, so we'll have multiple times worth of data for this. Let's go into the combat log. So this list is a little messy because they're not listed alphabetically, but we have 0% here taking 568. And we can clearly see that that is substantially more than the rest. But then 25% here is taking 294. And that's ridiculous because 294 and 282 for 100% are approximately the same. If we keep this guy here and we get him to walk into the mountain just for a second, he's supposed to have a 5.1% chance of losing a tank versus, let's say, the 95% guy. They're supposed to have a 0.3% chance. That is substantially different. But then you come in here and we actually lost more tanks for 95% than 25%. We do see some weird things. 85 and 90% lose more than 75%. I'm going to put that down to just random dice rolls, but what we can see for light armored recon, that only needs 58% reliability to minimize attrition losses. That's clearly not right. You can minimize it with 25%. All right, so this is the tank test. We're using 0%, 25, 50, 55, 85, 90, 95, and 100% for our regular tanks. These are our light tanks. We're using 300. Based on the old math, this suggests we need 96.6% reliability to minimize attritional losses, aka it should be somewhat of a scale. Each of these should take a different amount of attritional losses. And then we also have a light flame tank. We have 4 designs for this light flame tank. A 0%, 25%, 50%, and 100%. Based on the new math, they should all take the same attritional values, which is kind of impressive because it's hard to make a 0% reliability flame tank. Like, I had to use the petrol electric engine, and nobody uses that. Anyways, the test is quite simple. We're going to take these tanks, we're going to make sure they move to Nice, and then we're going to make them just slinky along the mountains, taking 30% attrition the entire way, and then we'll have them come back down. And I'm going to do this a bunch of times. And don't worry, supply is massive. I built a ton of supply hubs. So at no point in time will they be having supply problems. So we're just going to do this a couple of times. And I'll show you the first one. That'll do a couple off camera. And then we're going to compare attritional losses. And if we just look at the supply map mode for a while, they're just... Okay, Spain, stop getting in the way. They're just perfectly fine. There's no supply problems whatsoever. This is just strictly mountain attrition. It is interesting how these are not showing up at the same time though. So that's the test. I'm gonna do that a couple more times and then we'll look at the results. Alrighty, so I've done this a bunch more times. Let's just take a look at the results. And they're a bit of a mess. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make an Excel spreadsheet of this, but what we can initially see is an insane amount of losses for 0%, and then quite the jump up from 90 to 85%. Okay, so these are the results. For the flame tanks, it's pretty consistent other than 50%, but I think one of the divisions using 50% was a bit faster, so it wasn't taking attrition so it didn't take as many attrition ticks as everyone else, but we can clearly see that 100% and 0% are taking the same amount of attrition. This is largely consistent with the new math, which has this graph for units using 50 or less equipment, and 15 is around here, and you can see 0 is already at the minimum amount. Reliability for flame tanks literally doesn't matter. For armored recon, the amount is already right here, 16.67%. As long as you're above that, you're minimizing your losses. For tanks using 300 units, it's about what it used to be. There's a little bit of a step up when you go down from 95 to 90. You're getting 80% more losses, so it can be worthwhile trying to get up to that 90% mark. But the real jump comes from going from 90% down to 85%. Now you're looking at 1.4 times more attritional losses. So if you're in a scenario where attrition might be a problem for you, you definitely need to be aiming for that 100 to 95% range when you're using 300 units in your division. And this is 300 when you're using one type of equipment. Every different type of equipment, even if it's being used by the same battalion, has its attrition calculated individually. So you are really wanting to aim for these higher 90+% reliabilities on your tanks. So let's recap. Reliability for small amounts of units, 24 or less, 24 being the amount in armored light recon, do not matter. Reliability when you're getting up into the 300 amount does matter for attritional losses. If you're in a situation where you're never going to take attrition, reliability only matters for recovery purposes. But recovery is a whole other conversation. That'll end up being a different video. Same with maintenance companies, how useful maintenance companies are. I'm going to give you a little spoiler. They're not that useful. But anyways, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.